All right, good afternoon. Another good productive practice this morning. With our scrimmage tomorrow, we had a typical Friday schedule where we want to activate our guys, a little bit of high speed, high velocity stuff, but not a lot of contact today, so we'd be fresh for tomorrow. Had good recall, and we're anxiously awaiting tomorrow's scrimmage. So what do you guys got?
What would you like to see tomorrow? What do you want to find out about your team?
Well, I want to see our guys compete, number one. Tomorrow we're going to have situations that'll be live. Who can get a guy on the ground? When you're going thud, everybody gets tackled as soon as you get close. We want to see who can finish that play, particularly the younger guys. We know where our veterans are. They need to get some limited reps to stay fresh. But our young guys, who are those guys that have been flashing? Can they actually get it done in a game? Guys like a Ben Schreider's had a really good camp. Brandon, Smith has had a really good camp. Some of those young guys, Warren Patu, can you get it done, when it's live bullets flying?
Is it going to be a situational deal, or are you going to actually a mini game, or what?
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start where it's going to be situational. Coach will start a drive, and we'll let it play out. We'll have some special teams peppered in. I'm sure he'll probably put the ball in the red zone if it doesn't get there organically. May have some third down situational stuff if we don't get enough looks in a certain situation.
Are players ready for this?
I think so. Our guys been chomping at the bit for real game-like action. Yesterday we had a lighter day like our Thursdays, a lot of mental stuff. Today was Friday, and we're ramped up, so tomorrow we ought to be going as fast as we've been going to camp.
Did you come into camp with any particular things in mind on defense to work on or to see?
Well, our big thing is having as many veterans as we have coming back is making sure those guys are fresh, but more importantly, let's develop that backup crew. Who's going to be those next guys in? And so they've been getting a lot of reps in trying to teach those guys and really push the envelope as how much they can learn. Tomorrow gives them an opportunity to show us not only how much have they learned, can they execute in a life situation.
Who of that depth has sort of stepped up so far in the first week and a half?
Well, I like I mentioned, Ben Schreider. I think he's really flashed at times. He's showing up on film a lot. Craig Woodson in the secondary is flashed at times. But these guys just got here in the summer, so we haven't seen them in a live situation. We're going to get a chance to put those guys, under the gun tomorrow.
Anybody who surprised you?
I don't know about surprises. Ben Schreider possibly. He's been a really productive guy. We knew he was a veteran player that, he's from the Bay Area, comes back. He's a physically tough guy. He's 6'2", he's 240 something pounds. But he's really been an explosive guy off an edge and done some good things.
I wanted to ask about Braxton Croto. You had him kind of in that 2-point stance role that Tevin played a bit last year. How is it transitioning him into kind of that?
And I probably should have mentioned him when you talk about the guys who, not necessarily surprises, but, are getting a chance to show what they can do. He was here in the spring, so he seems like a veteran, but, he's not gone through a fall camp. I really like his progress. He's in that combo position we call a long, a guy that can play defensive end in our base package, playing a 4-eye, but he's also got the athletic ability and his length to play a defensive end in our nickel package, and then learn how to do all of our drops and coverage stuff. So guys like Tevin, guys like Chinadu, we've got in that role, and I think he's going to end up being a really good one by the time he's done, understanding what we ask of him in both those roles.
Could Alston potentially figure into that?
He's another one in that same mode. Yep, absolutely.
Justin talked the other day about the fact that early in camp it's pretty easy to have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, and that when you get a couple weeks in, that's when you find out who can sustain it. Are you eager to see how your guys will handle that maybe in the next days and weeks?
Yeah, probably more so after tomorrow's scrimmage. I think tomorrow's scrimmage probably take care of itself, but you're absolutely right. Once we get into, all right, it's a hard practice on Thursday, Friday, we're still a couple of weeks out from a game, who's got the mental intensity to bear down, grind through a practice? We don't have a whole lot of adversity here, to be honest with you. This is probably the warmest day we've had, and I don't know if it's even 80 degrees yet. So we've got to manufacture some adversity because football is about grit, and we've got to learn to fight through that phase where you start to think, do I really want to be out here? It's not quite as easy as that first day. And if we can develop that from this team, which we had last year, I think it really bodes well for our future.
That's especially true of the young guys.
Absolutely, because they haven't been through
time,
this. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of been our focus in camp, is finding out which of those young guys are ready for that challenge, that grit. Some guys come in and they flash, but as the grind starts to hit them, it becomes too much. Other guys, they're a little bit more mature, and they prove it as time goes on. So it's something we constantly harp on them, and some guys get it immediately, some guys it takes them a while to get it.
Justin's talked about Daniel Scott as being one of those guys who's taking advantage of the reps.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen from him in his first week and a half?
Well, I tell you, when he got here, he was in our first class. He was one of those guys that was probably a little slow that first year picking things up. Everyone's got different time clock. A year ago, I thought he really made strides, particularly in special teams, in gaining confidence, making plays in the open field. That confidence, I think, translated to him making plays in the spring. So now he's got confidence in defense and has a better feel for disguise. And now he's getting his opportunities with a couple of older guys dinged up and us wanting to hold some guys a little bit. He's really shined.
What are your thoughts on some of the defensive ends playing on the inside when you're in the four-man front, like Beckett and Zionde, like they were the other day in practice?
Well, those guys, we talk all the time about, hey, we got to be able to be job swappers. You got to not only know your job, but you got to know the guys around you, because we may call on you in a given week to switch jobs. A year ago, I'll give you an example, we lose Cam Good for the season after the first game. The very next week, Tevin Paul had been playing only 3-4 D end, and inside guy in nickel. The following week, he was an outside linebacker. And so we've got to get our best 11 on the field all the time, and guys give themselves the best opportunity to get on the field if they know what's going on around him. Guys like Z and Luke are doing a nice job as playing zeros and three techniques. You look at guys like I mentioned, Chinadu, Tevin Paul, Braxton Croto, Nick Alfton. Those guys can play a defensive end in our nickel on an edge, but also have to learn to play a 4-eye in our base stuff.
And when you develop that versatility, do you think it's going to work better for you in the long run, even when those other guys do return?
Oh, absolutely, because you've got that depth where you're not just putting the 13th best guy back in the game, you're putting the 11th best guy, and we just move guys around. And I think when teams start breaking us down, we have a lot of defense, and we line guys up at different spots. I think it can confuse an offense because, wait a minute, 96 has always been an outside backer, now he's a 4-eye. What's going on here? Is it a disguise, or he's actually playing that?
Can you talk a little bit about Ronet's progress? He seems to be heavier and stronger this year.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job in the offseason. I'm really proud of him. It's amazing when guys become seniors and that curtain starts getting a little bit lower, to see that development, that growth, that seriousness that they take things. And he's comes out every day with a smile on his face, great energy. He's 285-ish pounds, and so he's a lot more powerful, and he really hasn't lost much quickness at all.
Obviously, you guys aren't game planning for specific teams yet, but how does knowing your schedule impact how you guys go about camp and what you focus on?
Well, during training camp, we're preparing for the season. So we're trying to teach all of our concepts in a generic sense. We talk about camp rules so that guys understand when we're in different packages, what are we asking you to do? What are the guys around you asked to do? Once we get in, it'll probably be another week and a half or so into our first week, then we'll start tweaking rules. We'll throw some of the menu out and focus only on those calls we're bringing in that game. That's it.
Thank you.
All right, guys.